You are listening to The Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome to the program, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host, Kathy. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. All right, now, after Trump left office for his first term here, the mainstream media, the Uniparty. I like this. Carrie Lake is the first one I heard talk about the Uniparty.
Yeah, that's a good term. I like that.
Yeah, the Uniparty, it's a term that means the Republican and Democrat establishment. So you don't have to keep saying the Democrat and Republican establishment, the Uniparty.
Yeah.
And all the rest had this grand thought in their mind. They're always scheming to stop MAGA. They're always scheming against Trump. And they had this plan in their mind that they were going to have. This is an election year, right? Midterm election years. They thought that this election year that they were going to have an all year long MAGA on trial, right? They thought there were going to be hundreds of Capitol breachers, MAGA, on trial for insurrection. And then the Whitmer case. And there's been a big update today on the Whitmer case, which we'll get to in just a minute. But what they planned on having was so that when you turned on MSNBC, CNN, or even Fox News these days, there would be a graphic on the screen and it would say MAGA on trial. And they thought they were going to have an entire year of MAGA on trial. And that was what would put the Uniparty back in control. And none of that has happened. In fact, this week, the first Capitol breacher was found not guilty of all charges. And he was in front of a federal judge. And his defense, he said, and there's video of this guy. He went inside the Capitol. He was inside the rotunda. And so he walked in and was in there. His defense was the Capitol Police let me in.
They did. And there's video of that everywhere.
Well, and the judge believed him, and he is the first person arrested in the Capitol breach who's been acquitted of all charges. It's amazing. Now, today, there was a big story involving the Whitmer kidnapping plot. And this is from the Gateway Pundit I'm reading from, but this is in many other publications, and this is just breaking as we are speaking. So as the day goes on, and over the weekend, there'll be more stories. So I'm just going to read word for word the headline and the story from the Gateway Pundit. Huge blow to fake news and FBI. 0 guilty verdicts in the case of alleged plot to kidnap Governor Whitmer. Not guilty verdicts for 2 and a hung jury on 2 others, including the ringleader. Listen to this. I mean, this was a shocking story when it happened, and you guys are familiar with the kidnapping plot of Governor Whitmer. The Governor Whitmer kidnapping case, now I'm reading from the FBI, the FBI. I'm reading from the Gateway Pundit. They're talking about the FBI in the case. These are not my words. Everything from this point forward considered a quote because I'm reading word for word from the Gateway Pundit, and I have not read this story, just the headline, so I'm reading this with all of you.
Just broke.
The Governor Whitmer kidnapping case, which we now know was comprised virtually all of FBI agents and informants, took another devastating hit. Michael Hills, an attorney for one of the 6 defendants, produced text messages showing an FBI field agent telling an informant to lie and frame an innocent man, delete text messages. And it goes on and on. I'm not going to read the whole story, just to tell you this. So in this massive kidnapping plot, no guilty verdicts, 2 acquitted, 2 hung juries, and those hung juries, maybe they'll come back, maybe they won't because maybe they'll try to work out a deal. This case was really happened because the FBI and FBI informants made it happen by finding some guys and pressuring them into doing some things, and that's why they got acquittals. And that's why they got hung juries. And there's another article that you gave me, Kathy, that is in Red State. And here's the headline in Red State today. Massive blow to the FBI and Gretchen Whitmer kidnapping verdict. If you followed the saga of the plot to kidnap Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer, you've probably been privy to a variety of twists and turns over the last year or so. Those include the high probability that the FBI orchestrated the entire thing to entrap people and reinforce a politicized narrative, that the right is a domestic terror threat to Democrats.
That's the narrative they were wanting to go with.
That's right. That fit right into what was being pushed. Sure enough, several different pieces of evidence emerged showing that the FBI agents, including one who ended up being arrested for physically abusing his wife, were central to organizing and goading vulnerable, disturbed men to go along with the plot. Why did that happen? It sure feels like politics was at the center of everything. This is in red state. Now we've got verdicts in the trial of 2 of the men charged over the ordeal, and they represent a massive blow to the FBI's credibility, which, by the way, the FBI's credibility wasn't too great with the Russian dossier and Comey and all that. Jurors on Friday acquitted 2 men of conspiring to kidnap Governor Gretchen Whitmer of Michigan, said they were deadlocked on charges against 2 others, in a significant defeat for federal prosecutors in one of the highest profile domestic terrorism cases in decades. And even though this is a huge story, they're not doing breaking news sounders in the cable news about this. Have you noticed that? In fact, it's a little hard to find.
It's trending on Twitter right now, hashtag Whitmer trial. This is absolutely huge. Obviously, we know what happened, and people suspected this all along. And the evidence was so apparent that there's no guilty verdict here, because obviously whatever their lawyers presented, like the guy at the Capitol breach, what the lawyers presented to the judge and the jury showed unequivocally that the FBI infiltrated this group. The FBI and, law enforcement agencies, they often infiltrate criminal groups like biker gangs and, gangs in LA and all this stuff. That's a common thing. They go undercover and they infiltrate groups. Look at Donnie Brasco. That's what he did. And they get intel, and that's a part of law enforcement. We all understand that. We watch TV and see this stuff. But when you go in as an FBI agent and you come up with an idea that's like a crime, and you get guys into it, and you're the one who is creating this problem and making it so, then that's an issue. If you're the one who goes in and said, hey, let's go do this, let's kidnap Whitmer, let's do this, and it's your idea, and you are manipulating people to do something, that is entrapment, pure and simple. And I wonder how many other times this has happened, but I feel like this is going to set a precedent. Everything the left has done, I call them stunts. Every little stunt they have tried to pull has fallen apart for them. And if you're on the left and you don't see this and you don't understand this, then you have blinders on, or you're just deluding yourself. Yeah, seriously.
What they were planning on doing was obvious. They had 2 things going on here. They had the MAGA on trial fantasy, and then they had in their mind hundreds of convictions. The Capitol breachers, these guys, very high profile. And if these guys were found guilty today, even one of them, it would be the sounder, breaking news. They would stop everything. It's not even on TV yet. And after that, they were going to have a move to outlaw the MAGA movement and declare the MAGA movement, led by Donald Trump, a domestic terrorist organization.
That's the goal.
And everything has fallen apart for them because nothing in these cases came out even close to what they were fantasizing.
Here's what Dinesh D'Souza just tweeted. This is bigger than Rittenhouse. The FBI tried to entrap a bunch of guys into a kidnapping plot the agency itself drove, and the jury saw right through it. Another leftist narrative bites the dust. Hashtag Whitmer trial. Yeah. So this is breaking news today. And like I said, I really would like to hear or have somebody who's a liberal, but they never do this. All they do is call you a bigot or a racist. That's the only thing they can ever do. Really intelligently think about this and say or write a comment. All that has happened, all these false narratives, all these false flags, all these things that have happened, and now you're finding out that the FBI was involved in this plot and actually instigated this plot, and probably another plot we know about. How can you honestly say that the side you are defending is not corrupt?
Yeah.
Can't you? I mean, nothing is working out for these people, and they keep throwing things at the wall. It never stops. They don't ever learn from their mistakes. They just keep trying and trying and trying. I don't know why they just can't let things be.
It's because
why can't they just let it be?
No,
I don't know. They're making a problem
because, and it's pretty simple.
It's a sickness.
and this has been going on since 2010. I've talked about it a lot on this program.
Yeah.
And it's 12 years seems like a long time, but it's not. But what's happened is conservatives through MAGA, and then it started in 2010 with the Tea Party, have become activists. And we have activists like Marjorie Taylor Greene and Lauren Boebert who have made their way into Congress. And the mainstream media, the uniparty, the political establishment of both these parties cannot handle the fact that conservative people have become activists. And this plot that they had to declare MAGA a domestic terrorist organization and outlaw it was to try to stop the political activism. Now, we got some information today on something else that it's not an official announcement. Most people haven't picked up on it. But we now know, as of today, now this could change, because all kinds of things can happen. But something happened today twice. And now I have an idea of what's going on here with Biden and Kamala and what the Democrats plan on doing. The Democrats are in trouble, and when I saw Dan Bongino at the private Trump event I went to about 3 weeks ago, and Dan Bongino said that, and you've heard me talk about this. Dan Bongino said that Hunter Biden is going to be indicted by this grand jury. Most people expect that now. Joe is going to pardon his son and announce he's not running for re-election. And I don't think that's something that Dan Bongino was just yakking about. I think that's what he's heard from his contacts at Fox News that have contacts inside the government, that's the plan. And I can now say, as of today, and again, this could change next week, next month, tomorrow if something happens, but the Democrats, okay, so Joe's not going to run. Who are they going to run? And I think they're going to run, as of right now, Mayor Pete. Mayor Pete did two appearances today. They plan on making him their nominee.
He's their man.
And he very well could end up being vice president under Biden, or Kamala's vice president if Biden has to resign. And today he made two appearances. He was on The View and talking about the Florida law and other things, and he went on with Charlemagne de God. And Charlemagne de God told him that the country hasn't come through on their promises to black people, and Pete was very surprised to hear this and said, well, the work is not done. First off, the promise to black people is the same promise to every person.
I don't know what promises what are we promising them?
No, well, the promise is that this is that everyone in this country is equal and you all have the same opportunity. Everybody. The work is not completed when one group of people, I guess, have, I don't know what Charlemagne would consider.
Well, what promises is he talking about?
I don't know. He didn't get
reparations,
specific.
I'm guessing.
Life seems pretty good for him. He's got a nationally syndicated radio show, and
he can hand out some money.
Top Democrats come in and pay honor to him. Kamala, Biden, Mayor Pete today. So I don't know what he's griping about, but what Mayor Pete going on both of these shows today, in particular Charlemagne de God. When I heard him speak, I've told you guys this. If you listen to, I haven't listened to Mayor Pete talk in a while, but when I saw him on both of these interviews, Mayor Pete is not a smart person. He has handlers that write all of his statements for him. He's like an actor. He's not very smart. If you ever hear him go off script, he's not very smart, and he gets very angry. But he has writers that write his answers for him. And if you listen closely to his word choice and his sentences, they're word for word things you've heard Obama say when he was president and when he was running. So whoever was writing Obama's speeches writes Mayor Pete's speeches, the same people. I don't know who this person is, but the word choices and everything, it's the same thing.
And I feel he's been coached because I feel his delivery is like Obama's in a lot of ways. Yeah. And I said this on a few shows back. I feel that he is who they want to go with. And I think if they get Joe to resign for whatever reason, and who knows, he might resign like 6 months out before he's done, because he's done what he had to do, what he needed to do for himself. And if he did, in his mind, he could be elevating Kamala. And I personally feel that they want a Kamala. I don't know. They don't like her, though. But I think Mayor Pete is who they're going to go with for sure. I thought for a while if he resigned, they would put like Kamala and Pete as her VP. I don't know if that's getting convoluted. I think he's who they see as their future. And the reason they like him is because he is the empty suit that they need. Like Obama, he toes the party line. He stays on script. He says what he's supposed to say. He plays the part well. and the deep state can control him, and he will do whatever he has to do to have power and money and fame and whatever it is. So he will do what he's told to do, and that's what they want. They want a spokesmodel. They had that with Obama, and they're going to have that with him. And he doesn't think for himself. I could tell you that. He's actually, even more down that route. I've nenever seen him have a thought of his own that was intelligent or anything.
He's a lot of gobbledygook when he talks.
Absolutely.
He's very vacuous. He has these phrases. Well, the work is not done, and we must complete the work.
Yeah.
And until the work is completed, it's not done. He actually said that to Charlemagne the God today.
Which is, it's a lot of vague, ambiguous.
Exactly.
Like you said, gobbledygook that means nothing.
Yeah.
And that's a lot how Obama talked.
Yeah.
People would cry and eat it up.
Yeah.
The problem is Mayor Pete, he's not black. So, when Obama came along, it was a big deal. Obviously, the first black president. There's nothing that makes Pete special.
Well, no, because he's gay. And
I don't know.
And let me tell you.
Well, now you got to be trans to be special.
That one of the reasons we're seeing all this trans stuff going on very well may be to pave the way because Mayor Pete was on The View talking about the Florida parental consent law. He was talking about that quite a bit. And he's got a husband and he adopted 2 children, and I think he adopted the 2 children to have this so-called stereotypical family of the 21st century.
No doubt.
2 husbands, 2 kids.
The new normal.
This is the new thing. And the thing with Mayor Pete, they're in this bubble where everyone's gay, everyone's a minority, everyone's this. That group of people are still a small minority, in particular gays, and it just seems like there's more because that's all they hang around with. And most people, I don't think, would be very comfortable with a man who is married to another man being president and first gentleman of the United States. I just don't think that's something that people are really comfortable with. And how is someone like that going to be tough with, say, Putin?
Yeah. He's just going to read a script.
But I'll tell you another thing, though. President Trump had Grinnell, who is our ambassador, and he's with Newsmax, and he's openly gay, and he's very good. Grinnell could be president. He's a gay man, but he's smart, and I didn't pay much attention to Grinnell until the Afghan pullout, and I saw him interviewed on TV, and I saw him on with Glenn Beck talking about, from a total policy perspective, what was going on there. And President Trump always hires the smartest and the best of the best, and Grinnell is brilliant. I mean, he's like brilliant. If he were running, he would have somebody that would have credibility, because even though Grinnell is gay, that's like some afterthought that people don't know. Mayor Pete, his whole thing is, I'm gay, I got a husband, we just adopted 2 kids, I took paternity leave. There's not much to him other than this central casting cookie cutter thing he's doing, where Grinnell, is smart, he's competent, and being gay is just kind of in the background that people don't really think about it. That's not what he's about.
Well, I think there's a lot of identity politics even more now than ever with the gay community especially, and they lost a lot of gays and blacks with Trump, and they're trying to bring them back into the fold. So they need to have an issue, and this trans thing is their new issue now, because the gays have pretty much won every battle they were going for. They can adopt kids, they can get married. These were all the things they were fighting for, and now they can do these things. Nobody's getting in their way. So now the trans is the new issue, and you have I call them the letter people, this alphabet that goes on forever, because they keep bringing more people under that umbrella because they need those people. They need to manipulate them, so they keep expanding that umbrella even wider. Oh, you're this, you're that, you're non-binary, you're this. They keep adding labels, and they bring them in under that umbrella, bring them into the fold. And it's all about getting votes. It's an emotional manipulation is what they're doing with people on the left. They emotionally manipulate you. They make you feel like a victim. They make you feel like Republicans are bigots, they're evil, and we're going to protect you, we're going to fight for you. And Mayor Pete is going to be their poster boy.
Yeah. Now, listen, we're going to take a quick break. When we get back, there's a lot more to talk about. Don't go anywhere. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Back after this.
As Christians, we are called to spread the good news of Jesus Christ, and CJ Hawthorne has answered that call with his podcast, the About Faith Podcast. CJ wants you to not only believe in Jesus, but to have a relationship with your Savior. Nothing makes CJ happier than talking about God and the Word. He serves his local church as an ordained minister, as well as working on his faith-building podcast. CJ wants you to enjoy God's blessings and hopes his podcast can help bring you closer to God. You can listen to the About Faith Podcast at aboutfaithpodcast.com or on Apple Podcasts.
Hi, Brian Craig here. I'm in studio with my wife, Kathy, and she's here to tell you about her experience with the MyPillow mattress topper.
Well, as you know, Brian, I was waking up in pain almost every morning for years and years, and we had bought a new mattress not that long ago, but it still was not doing the trick. So I said to you, let's get the MyPillow mattress topper, and let's see if it helps or makes any kind of a difference. And I have to tell you, after sleeping on it just one night, I woke up no pain. I felt incredible. It made a huge difference for me. And the pain has not returned.
Wow, that's absolutely amazing. Now go to MyPillow.com and order your MyPillow mattress topper and do what Kathy and I did. Use the promo code KANE at checkout, KANE. And this is an incredible deal because with the promo code KANE, you will save 30% off the MyPillow mattress topper and get 2 free MyPillows. But you've got to use the promo code KANE at checkout, KANE. It comes in every size too, from twin all the way up to California King. That's promo code KANE, KANE, at MyPillow.com.
How many kittens can one girl have? Robin Hollow's picture book, How Many Kittens Can One Girl Have, is best described as a children's book with a huge heart. Pearl and her small black cat, Nugget, live in a little cottage. They're the best of friends and do everything together until one day, a cry from another side of their white picket fence brings an unexpected surprise in the form of a tiny orange-colored kitten who needs a home. Pearl and Nugget take in the stray, naming her Ginger, and the three of them get along famously until 3 more strays show up in quick succession. Soon, Pearl's tiny cottage is bursting at the seams and chaos reigns. Pearl realizes that everyone is miserable and that things will have to change quickly. Find out how many kittens Pearl ends up with when you read How Many Kittens Can One Girl Have by Robin Hollow. Order your copy right now on Amazon.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at briancraigshow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. You know, my friend PJ Gladnick, he's a writer for Newsbusters, and he texted me last weekend. And PJ, if you're listening, because of PJ from Newsbusters, I wasted a lot of time last weekend. He told me, you got to watch Reacher. You got to watch Reacher on Amazon Prime. And you know, he said, I just binge watched every episode. You got to watch it. And I'm like, I'm not going to do it. And I'm not going to do it because last time PJ Gladnick texted me about something, he said, you got to watch Goliath. I just finished watching Goliath with Billy Bob Thornton on it. And I binge watched.
You got hooked.
2 seasons of Goliath. So I started, spoilers on Reacher, okay, if anybody cares. I don't think anybody cares. But there's a reason I'm bringing this up. So I watched the first episode of Reacher, and it was so good. And next thing I knew, I watched every episode. There's only like 8 episodes, and it was very, very good. But like most, there is no greater waste of time than binge watching something on a streaming service, okay? And I've gotten hooked into this several times. And I don't know how many.
You get sucked into these binge watches all the time.
It drives Kathy nuts.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it does. I mean, I don't mind you relaxing and you can do what you want. You're a grown man and watching TV, but sometimes a whole Sunday will go by and it's like been 8 hours. And I'm like, hello, are you?
Well, but blame
you're like, okay, one more episode.
Blame PJ, not me for this one.
Doesn't happen that much, but once in a while.
It has not happened in a long time, but it has happened in the past. And the problem, there's 2 problems with binge watching these shows. One, it's a waste of time.
It is a total waste of time.
It's a total waste of life. We have such a small amount of time on the planet Earth, and binge watching is a waste of time. And at the end of Reacher was very good, until the end.
This happens all the time with shows that you watch.
And I was expecting some climactic, suspenseful ending, and it was an ending that left me so disappointed. It was like, I cannot believe I wasted 8 episodes of my life on Reacher.
Well, if you want to watch something good,
don't binge watch.
This isn't a binge watch.
No.
Is The Thing About Pam. It's on Peacock, and they release a new episode every week. It's with Renee Zellweger. It's a true story. It is, if you like true crime, it is really good.
Oh, I like true crime.
Excellent. She's very good in this. I don't like to binge watch. I'm not a big TV person because I like to do other things.
But the thing about it is,
men get suckered in.
Well, here's what they've done. The new shows that are on the different platforms.
Yeah.
And the only reason we have Amazon is because, with the Amazon Prime, you get free delivery on all your Amazon stuff. So, so it pays for itself. But television shows that are made for streaming services are made in a way so that every episode is a suspenseful cliffhanger to get you to watch the next episode.
Like 24.
Yes, like 24. And the first time I binge watched anything was 24.
That was a good
this
show.
is when it was on DVD. And we binge watched like the whole first or second season of it on DVD, and it seemed like every 5 minutes there were 2 episodes on a DVD, and it was going by so quickly. 24 is like every 5 minutes I felt like I was getting up to put the next DVD in, and we spent a whole weekend watching 24 episodes.
We also binged watched Pretty Little Liars.
Yes, we did. That was a few years ago, though.
And Revenge, the first season of Revenge was really good. So there have been a few times I get sucked in, but it's been a while.
It's been a while, and PJ, if you're listening, I might have to block your number because I wasted all day Sunday. Well, anyway, if any
the guy in Reacher's very good looking.
If any of you guys binge watch, I'm curious. It's such a waste of life,
tell us what you've binged watched lately.
I feel after I've binge watched things, when it's over, I have 2 feelings. One is almost always disappointing because the end of almost every series is just a letdown. And 2, I feel guilty. Like I just wasted breath. Binge watching is for people that are locked up in prison.
Yeah, no, I feel it's a waste. And I feel the same way. Sometimes if I don't like to watch a ton of TV in large groups. I usually don't watch too much till the evening, till I'm like in bed. I'll watch a movie.
I used
to
go to sleep at night.
But you watch more TV than I do, that's for sure. Yeah. I like to paint and do art and do other things, read. I keep trying to get you to read more. You used to read all the time.
Well, I'm on the computer so much reading the news that my eyes, but at the end of the day when I'm done are like hurt. And I can't,
I understand.
I just want to mention just quickly about this, and I have something more important to talk about. Okay, so Will Smith, the Oscar Academy made a ruling. Will Smith is banned from the Oscars for 10 years for slapping Chris Rock. He will be allowed to keep his Best Actor award. I think they should have taken the Oscar away from him. I guess some criticism because I said he was defending his wife, and I got to retract that opinion. I think that was an opinion that I made without much perspective on what was going on. And, the more I think about it, he should have been arrested. And, but what's happened with Will Smith.
You've made a 180 here.
What's happened, or as a liberal would say, a 360, which means I have the same position. I've had liberals say that to me. You just made a 360. Well, I'm right where I began. But this is what's happened with Will Smith at the Oscars, okay? Will and Jada Pinkett Smith are huge producers now. They are producing movies and television shows for both theatrical release, streaming things like we're talking about, binge shows and everything else. They're producing programs that are on Apple TV. And the reason that he was not removed from – at first I thought they didn't remove him because there was just utter shock at what had happened. And that happens a lot. I mean, I've been in situations where people have said and done things that are so shocking no one reacts because it's like you're in shock. You don't know how to react. You're frozen. But now I realize that Will Smith it's like a Harvey Weinstein situation. Harvey Weinstein got away with what he got away with because he was a powerful producer and a lot of people's jobs depended on him and his company. Will and Jada Pinkett Smith are the same thing right now. There's huge producers, and a lot of people are making a lot of money off of them. And he got away. A lot of people will say, well, he got away with what he got away with because he's black. I've heard a lot of people say that. I don't think so. Now, if it had been a white actor, maybe they would have lost everything by now. But slapping a black comedian,
no doubt.
But the main
it would have been racism. Across the board.
That's not to say that Will Smith got away with this because he's black. Will Smith has gotten away with this because he's a big, powerful producer.
He does
him and
produce
his wife.
a lot. He's got that show Bel Air. He's producing that show with Gary Oldman.
A lot, and movies.
He produces a lot.
This
of
movie
stuff.
He won the Oscar for. I'm sure they produced that.
No, he produces a lot.
So that's why, just like Harvey Weinstein. And what I'm a little unclear about this is he's banned from attending the Oscars.
Yes, for 10 years.
Can he still win Oscars? Can he still be nominated? It didn't say that.
I don't think that'll happen.
But could he be? I think they should. I'll stand up for a man defending his wife, but the slap was a little much. No,
that's totally inappropriate. I think what happened. I was kind of surprised at your take, and I woke up and you were talking about it because it happened late, and Emily had sent me the clip like at 10 o'clock because I wasn't watching the Oscars, but our daughter found it on social media. And then I sent it to you with like it was all over social media with articles. And then when I woke up like at 7 and I put you on and you were defending him, I was honestly in shock.
Well, I'm not totally taking back what I'm saying.
Let me finish what I'm saying. But I understand you have a different perspective because you have a sick wife. And there have been times in our past where people made fun of me. We've had people, listeners, that have said things that I play up my illness for sympathy, which I don't think I do, and all this stuff. And so you see it from that point of view of being the husband of a sick person. Now, I don't consider alopecia a chronic illness; it's a condition. What I have is a chronic illness. It's life-threatening.
This alopecia,
she has a condition. It's not life-threatening. It's no big deal.
It almost seems like Jada Pinkett Smith is like trying to get some marketing deal with alopecia treatment.
That's what a lot of people are saying.
But, I'll give you an example of something that Kathy just referenced. A lot of you may not know Kathy uses oxygen. Not all the time. Kathy's not on oxygen now. But if we leave the house, and because Kathy's sitting down and we're here at our podcast studio here at home, but if Kathy's walking around, even around the house, you use oxygen.
I have to use it when I lay down.
Yeah, and when she's laying down, sleeping,
I walk anywhere, and sometimes when I'm sitting. Sometimes, it just depends.
And everywhere we go, Kathy has to take oxygen if she's moving and walking, and we have a portable oxygen concentrator. And anytime we go anywhere, Kathy has oxygen on, and we put a picture online of us out somewhere. And we got a very nasty comment about Kathy. Oh, you have to keep your oxygen on for the picture, trying to get sympathy. Kathy was.
You can't take it off to take a picture.
And I
usually do take it off for pictures.
The problem
I was just using it. I was walking.
Yeah, to breathe.
I didn't even think about
to breathe. Yeah, I'm sorry. You hold your breath. Can you hold your breath?
The last thing I want is sympathy. I hate it.
And when you're wearing oxygen, if you take it off for a picture, you'll have the red lines from the oxygen tubes on your face. So, but anyway, and there's been other things. I know that seems mild, but people, and there are other.
There was one other thing that was very bad.
I'm not going to tell that other story.
Got married.
Yeah, I'm not going to tell that story.
So you are coming from that point of view, but he totally overreacted.
Yeah.
But you've never gone up and hit anybody and reacted that way. And he did not handle it with class. He handled it like a thug, as far as I'm concerned. And I don't know if I'm not going to say it made black men look bad. But it made him look bad. And it made him look like a thug. Yeah. Like he just went up at the Academy Awards, which is supposed to be the creme de la creme of Hollywood. It's the biggest award show. They wear the nicest clothes. It's the fanciest event in Hollywood. Out of all the award shows, out of everything, it is the top. The top is getting an Oscar. It has a huge tradition. It's almost 100 years old. It has a huge tradition in this country. And to get up and swagger up and hit somebody and then swagger off with a big grin on your face and then start yelling the F word, it made everybody uncomfortable. It debased the entire event. it took away all the attention off. Nobody talked about anything other than that. So anybody that won, I don't think anybody even knows.
Well, okay.
Nobody cares.
I'm not totally taking back what I said, but I realized something a few days ago. I saw the creator and producer of Entourage talking about this the other day on TV, and he said two things that I had not considered. One, Chris Rock is almost 60 years old. I didn't realize how old he is.
Yeah.
And he said Will Smith, who's a lot bigger than him, it's not just that he hit a man who's 60 almost. He also trained to box professionally for his role as Muhammad Ali. And that's like, a trained boxer who's a big guy going against a little guy who's almost 60. That's ridiculous. And he should be stripped of his Oscar. He should not only be banned from attending the Oscars, but it should not be 10 years. It should be for life. And he should also be barred from being nominated. He should also lose his ability to vote if they haven't taken that for future Oscars. This is not right. Now, listen, we're going to take a break. When we get back, there is a lot more to talk about, all right? We've just scratched the surface. I'm Brian, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. We'll be back right after this.
Have you wanted to try meditation but didn't know how or even where to begin? The book from author Peggy Lunnington, Meditation Manual. Simple directions for a life-changing practice. Available on Amazon is the help you've been seeking. This must-read book is a quick read with a very personal tone, beginning with an intimate glimpse into the author's life and reasons they needed meditation, followed by a brief description of what meditation is and does. Also included are 4 simple exercises that can change a person's life. Author Peggy Lunnington's goal was simple: to make meditation easily accessible for everyone during this unusually stressful period in our collective history. Meditation Manual, Simple Directions for a Life-Changing Practice, debuted as an Amazon #1 new release in its category. Start your meditation journey right now and order your copy of Meditation Manual, Simple Directions for a Life-Changing Practice on Amazon and the author's website, PeggyLunnington.com. Events take a surprising and unexpected turn when students prank an aged woman's home in the children's book, A Halloween Night Caper, from author Robin Hollow. There will be no treats, just tricks this Halloween, swirling gossip throughout the town about Ms. Crothers. The proposed witch gets 5 friends, Peter, Carl, Marcy, Robert, and Kevin, riled up this Halloween. A spirited conversation over lunch quickly turns into a Halloween dare that no self-respecting kid can back down from. Some will struggle with the idea of the task, but others will keep secret their second thoughts about playing a prank on old Ms. Crothers. Follow along as the 5 students plot and design the perfect plan. As the plan is set in motion at the witching hour Halloween night, they soon find the spine-tingling, isolated path ahead takes on a chilling life of its own. When they arrive at the dark house on the hill, they quickly realize that one by one, someone is grabbing them from the shadows of the night. What new perspective will the night's mysteries bring in the morning? Find out when you read A Halloween Night Caper by Robin Hollow. Available on Amazon. Do you love sports in America? Then you will want to add Patriot Sports Radio to your playlist right now. Patriot Sports Radio is a grassroots podcast network celebrating America's common ground of sports fandom. Eric, John, Chris, and the coach all bring their unique points of view to the table, where everything from the upcoming games to current events can come into play. They are 100% America First and post 2 episodes a week on Mondays and Thursdays. Listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcast, iHeartRadio, and your favorite podcast app. They also have Radio Swag and are on Instagram too. Find all their links on Linktree. Just go to Linktree and search Patriot Sports. Add Patriot Sports Radio to your playlist right now.
You are listening to the Brian Craig Show podcast, broadcasting from sunny South Florida. Brian is joined by his wife and co-host, Kathy. Follow Brian on social media at BrianCraigShow.com. And now, Brian and Kathy.
Welcome back, everyone. I'm Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Mercedes Schlapp just tweeted on this Whitmer kidnapping plot. This is Mercedes Schlapp. Mercedes and her husband, I like them. They're the CPAC people. They both have had cosmetic work. And if you watch them on TV, I like them both. They're Although there's some things I'm a little concerned about. They had some Democrats at CPAC, so
they did.
But they've had the same plastic surgery. You could tell they look alike. You could tell
her face is getting crooked.
Yeah, but
they need to stop with They're going to look like Madonna.
Yeah. Oh my goodness! Did you see that thing of Madonna this week?
Remember that Catwoman? That woman they called the Catwoman.
Yeah,
she's had so much. Like. That's who she's starting to look like. She's like a creature from. So
here's
planet.
Mercedes Schlapp. Listen to this. She just tweeted this a minute ago. The FBI was just exposed for entrapping innocent people into a kidnapping plot against Gretchen Whitmer, which resulted in negative headlines for President Trump during the 2020 election. Our intelligence agencies are corrupt to the core.
That's for sure.
Chris Wray needs to answer for this. Yeah, this is the thing. This is such a big realization. Ketanji's getting sworn in to the Supreme Court and all of this. And we were talking about how, her husband, she's related to, everybody knows Paul Ryan through marriage, is, a descendant of a member of the original Congress that signed the Declaration of Independence, the Continental Congress, and all this stuff. This deep state group of people that run the country, they just don't care. You saw Ketanji.
They do not.
With all those sentencing things, with the child pornographers getting sworn into the Supreme Court now, it tells you, and this thing with the Whitmer people, they have so much power against you. Now, I wanted to ask you guys this question. Kathy and I were talking about this earlier today. And this is a serious question. Is Sean Hannity still relevant? Or is Sean Hannity irrelevant? And
this sounds like a good poll question for your YouTube channel. I
don't watch Hannity's television show. That's about the time I'm winding down for bed. But I see the promos for his show, like on Tucker or sometimes earlier in the day on Fox if we're tuned over there. I don't watch Fox too much at all really anymore. But when he does a promo, he looks like he's asleep. Doesn't he?
Yeah, he's really just phoning it in. I don't know what's going on in his life. Maybe he's going through a big depression or something because he is really.
Well, his kids probably hate
looks
him
awful
for leaving their mother.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of these people when they leave their spouse, things really fall apart for them, and I think there's a lot of regret and some depression going on with him. I'm sure his wife got half his fortune, and she's probably with some younger guy having a great time.
Oh, he's with a younger woman?
And maybe not.
Maybe
whoever I'm sure he left his wife for somebody, and I'm sure whoever he left his wife for probably left him. And now he's all alone, and he probably is like, what the hell did I do? But I feel he's totally irrelevant. A lot of people think that way. He's not cutting edge. He doesn't take chances. He's, like you said, very vanilla.
Yeah.
And I got to tell you, I have a feeling he's out with Trump, and I think anybody who interviews Pence is out in Trump's book.
Well, okay. Now, this is
out in Trump's book.
Pence, who's running for president, it's a big scam to make money.
That's a stab in the back to Trump.
Pence was on Jesse Kelly and
Jesse Waters.
Or Jesse Waters. What did I say? Jesse Kelly.
Because you're thinking Greg Kelly.
Yeah, Greg Kelly. Yeah, he's the relevant one. I love Greg Kelly on Newsmax.
Greg Kelly's the best.
Greg Kelly on Newsmax is my favorite.
Yeah.
He really is.
Trump should be on his show regularly.
Yeah, every week. But Jesse Waters had Pence on, and Hannity had Pence on. And, I'm not interested in talking to Pence, but a lot of people say, well, Jesse Waters just started this nighttime show and they made him do it. And that's possible. Hannity and Jesse Waters work for Fox. We don't know what their deals are. They may be able to tell them that they have to do an interview, or maybe not. But if I were Sean Hannity and Fox News came along and told me that I had to do an interview, with Mike Pence, I would do two things. First, three things. The first thing I would do is tell them no and try to stop it. But if you're contractually obligated, he's making tens of millions of dollars a year, and he's got to do this infomercial for Pence. First thing I would do is I would call President Trump, and I would tell him what they're making me do. Mm-hmm. And I'm sorry, they're making me do it. I have no choice. And then I would sit there, and I would have them I would tell them to give me the questions to ask him. I would ask them in a way, it'd be like a hostage video. I would ask them in a way that you knew that I was being forced into it. Not only would I read the questions, I would make sure that it sounded like I was reading the questions. There would be no follow-up. There would be no, oh, shucks, and laughing and being nice to the guy.
It would be a tough interview, and I got one better. I would have Trump give me the questions.
Yeah. Well, I know
Say,
a lot.
what do you want me to ask
I know a
him?
lot
And
of
that's
people.
what I'll ask.
Yeah, I know a lot of people are saying, "Well, I would just quit." Hannity's making like $50 million a year.
I wouldn't quit over that.
And he's got contractual obligations and things like this. And that's not the kind of thing you could just walk away from. If he just quit, he could be in a lot of legal trouble with them.
He's making too much money, but I have to say I agree with something you said this morning on the radio show. And I had the same thought the other day. This whole fake controversy with Chris Wallace with this woman is
the 1619 Project lady.
Contrived. That argument seemed so staged to me, and it was all about getting publicity for this crappy app that nobody wants, CNN Plus. And you're right, for trying to bring conservatives over. No conservatives likes this guy because he's a liberal, but it's trying to bring some of the Fox audience over to that app. To me, that was such a staged, fake controversy. That CNN, stupid argument they had.
CNN is putting a lot into this new app they have, CNN Plus. And they brought over someone from MSNBC, Katie Hunt, I think is her name. She was on MSNBC for years. I saw an article today. Mm-hmm. If they gave me a lifetime free membership to the CNN Plus app, I would not download it on one of my devices.
What about if they paid you $1 million?
Oh, I would download it.
Absolutely.
That doesn't mean I'd watch it.
Right, true.
Doesn't mean I'd watch it. Yeah, I'd download it.
I would download it for $1 million.
I would download it for less than $1 million, much less than $1 million. But I wouldn't watch it.
No, exactly.
I'm not interested in anything CNN has to say.
I have to say the Fox Nation app, at first I didn't like it, and I even subscribed, and then we unsubscribed, and then I subscribed. They have gotten really good. They have really good content. They have movies. They have a lot of Fox movies, like just Fox Studios. They have a lot of really well done American history type documentaries. They have a true crime with Nancy Grace. They're really upping their game.
Nancy Grace is good. But
that's a good app. I recommend that app.
Since I discovered Real American News with Steve Bannon, the only two things I really watch, and I'm going to consider Steve Bannon's thing cable news, because Real American News is on some cable systems, and I think it's on the Dish network, not DirecTV, but the Dish. The only two things I watch now on so far as cable news, Steve Bannon and Greg Kelly.
Yeah, well, Greg Kelly's just phenomenal.
Those are the only two things, and I really don't watch anything else because everyone else is irrelevant and uninteresting to me. I know Tucker will have something interesting in a while, from time to time, but Greg Kelly and Steve Bannon are so good that no matter what anyone else does, it seems boring.
What Greg Kelly does that is really good, he has the best producers I've seen. He really, first of all, his commentary is spot on. I mean, the things he says are like exactly how I think most people think, and he's not afraid to go there. But he has producers that find really good old videos or audio stuff that really highlights hypocrisy of the left and brings forth things that you might not have known or you might have forgotten about. He's got really good producers. I mean, he'll show something. I'm like, where did they find this footage? This is incredible. I mean,
Greg Kelly.
He's got good producers.
Greg Kelly finds video of things that Joe Biden said back in like 1974. And
other things too.
It's amazing what he does.
Not only video, things they've said. Other politicians. He has a really good research person or whatever on his staff that really do research and find stuff.
He's very good.
That you either have forgotten about or didn't know existed. And a lot of it is pointing out hypocrisy over and over again with the left. And let me tell you, he is a huge Trump supporter.
Big time.
He even says it. I love the guy. He does this thing where he imitates him every night where he says the fake news just doesn't get it. And then he always has that segment. But he's really good. I highly recommend people watch him.
Yeah, and Bannon, what I love about Bannon is his analysis on the issues of the day. I got a message from a listener to the podcast the other day. They said, I'm a new listener, but you lost me. They said, I'm MAGA. And 9 times out of 10, when they tell you they're MAGA, they're fake MAGA.
Right.
But he said, you had me as a listener until I heard, he's MAGA, of course, until I heard you say that you will never criticize Donald Trump. And he has certainly done things worthy of criticism, he said.
That doesn't mean you have to criticize him, though. I mean, we could all find something that that maybe
not me.
we disagree with. He did,
not with President Trump.
But you're not going to come out and say it.
No. I
don't think he's done anything wrong.
No,
Perfect.
I don't. You will never hear me criticize President Trump. Not only that, I'm not. It's not like he's done things that I feel like were wrong and I'm hiding from you. No, I think he's as perfect as is possible for a man to be, and I've never disagreed with him. Because he's never done or said anything that I would disagree with.
And I have to say, in your defense,
that's true.
Honestly, because I'm with Brian all the time, pretty much. I have never heard you criticize Trump ever.
In private.
Not even at home. In fact, there's a couple times I'll say something like, I don't really like it. You get like mad at me. You're like, don't say that in my house. Like, you're not allowed to criticize him here.
No, never.
That's like a thing. So that is definitely true.
And I think all MAGA should be that way. Yeah. Why should any of you criticize Trump? He's got a lot of criticism. He's got a lot going against him, and he's out there fighting for us. You will. I will never criticize anything President Trump says or does, and he's done nothing that I would disagree with.
Okay, so I put the poll up. If you go to Brian's YouTube, Brian Craig, and you go to the community section, we have a lot of polls. We put up a couple a week, and I put up one last night, the best TV show from the 60s. Of course, I forgot to put in Star Trek. But we do fun polls once in a while, but they're mostly political. So the newest poll is Sean Hannity still relevant? So far it's 67% not anymore and 33% definitely.
Well, okay. Let me tell you,
so take the
this
poll.
happened. Sean Hannity was never like the number one voice in the conservative movement. No,
even
because
for a while. I don't know about
because there was always either Rush or Bill O'Reilly.
Yeah, Bill O'Reilly.
And a couple things with Hannity, okay? There was a time, though, when his radio show and things he did on TV, people were like, whoa, Hannity, did you hear what Hannity said today?
He's definitely past his peak.
Yeah, a couple things have happened with all of this. On the TV side of things, although he has gotten lazy and fat and is phoning it in these days.
I agree.
But Tucker Carlson really breaks big stuff and hits on issues pretty hard, and it makes anybody that's on before or after him not seem as interesting because Hannity doesn't go the extra mile. But Hannity...
And he could.
What's happened with Hannity is something that I've seen happen to a lot of people that do talk shows and podcasts like this and YouTube channels like mine and things like this. I am not, and some of you may not have realized this. Maybe you have. I'm not a very sociable guy, okay? And it's not that I'm rude or anything.
It's true.
We have our radio listener cruises every year. Steve Kane and I, we've got our next one on the Celebrity Apex in January. You're all invited. I don't have the number for the travel agent in front of me to give you right now, but I'll give it to you next time. And I do enjoy socializing. But what I mean by that is people that do this kind of job, whether it's a podcast, a radio show, a television show, a political YouTube channel, what I believe is the death of these things is when they become friends with the politicians. And, when I go to Trump rallies, I could use my influencer status to go and sit with the VIPs.
You have media passes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I've had media passes. I don't use media passes. And I don't go and sit with the VIPs, which I could go and get seats for that. And you don't see me backstage rubbing elbows. When I went to the Trump speech a couple weeks ago in Fort Lauderdale, I did not know it, but I was sitting next to listeners all day. Yeah. We were there all day, and I didn't know these people. And then when they they got up to go to the bathroom.
A lot of people know
during
Brian
a break,
down here.
And they said, "Hey, Brian, can you watch our seats?" I was like, I didn't know you knew me.
What about when you went with Laura Loomer and the police officer knew you?
Yeah, that CNN tried to get us thrown out with.
Yeah,
but there's a couple reasons I don't do that. Why
No, you never do that.
If like when I went to the Trump event, I bought a ticket to go. Yeah. And I could have called them, and I could have gotten a comp ticket and gone and done things and gotten VIP access and stuff. I think when you become friend, can you criticize your friends? No. Can you do the show with your friends? And there's one thing that people do, and this is what happens to Hannity and many others. People love to tell you what you should talk about on the show all the time.
Yes, they do.
And especially especially if you're friends with people that are in government or officials and things like this that you're going to be talking about. And Hannity, a lot of things have happened with Hannity, okay? One, his ego's gotten out of control. And Hannity's ego Hannity and his wife were split up for 5 years before we, the public, knew about it. He kept it a secret. And he had changed during that time. And what had happened was this geeky, dorky guy who's rich divorced his wife, and he started having sex with young, hot, beautiful women that he couldn't get before he was married. But now that he's rich and famous, and it blew up his ego.
Like Jim Acosta.
Yeah, and it blew up his ego. And the other thing is, like Glenn Beck, this happened to Glenn Beck, and it destroyed Glenn Beck's show. Started to become friends with senators and members of the House of Representatives and secretary
then you're
of
compromised.
this. Like when like Hannity was texting Michael Cohen when he was President Trump's lawyer, or he was texting the White House on January 6th. These people, they destroy their shows when they get too in with whoever is in power because their egos get out of control. Like, okay.
And they lose their objectivity.
Let me give you an example.
Too.
Yeah. Earlier in the week, it might have been last week or the beginning of this week, I talked about on the show Charlie Kirk, okay?
Oh, yeah.
Charlie Kirk got locked out of his Twitter for something he tweeted. I don't remember what it was about, or it was the same thing Babylon B got in trouble with. And he was talking, I saw him on with Steve Bannon. And Charlie Kirk said, well, I enjoy being on Twitter. And he says, I know that members of Congress follow me on Twitter, and he said that they make decisions based on things he tweets. And he says, I have influence through my Twitter because, I know they follow me and I have influence on policy. And I thought, well, that's pretty arrogant.
Yeah, it is.
And these guys become very arrogant. They're changing the world. They think every syllable and pause that they take has influence on the world. And these egos destroy their shows. So all of these factors, I think, have made Sean Hannity no longer relevant. He's too self-important.
Plus, I feel that he's bitterly jealous of Tucker Carlson. Bitterly. Yeah. I mean, he's younger. Yeah. He's the hot thing right now. It has got to bother him, the number of viewers he's getting compared to his. Because what happens is Tucker comes first. So you know what that means? Everybody, they leave. If Hannity comes after Tucker and say Tucker has 3 million viewers and Hannity only has 1.5 million, that means 1.5 million people are leaving and not sticking around. I mean, you got the best lead-in around Tucker Carlson in that environment. And half the audience says goodbye and they don't want to watch you. But he could change that. He needs to lose a little weight. I'll agree with you on that. If you're on TV, you got to look good.
Yeah.
But I feel he's in a massive depression. I think his life has gotten out of control and spun out of control. I think he's on the outs with Trump because he's a company guy and he's going to toe the company line and do what he's told, interviewing Mike Pence and all this. And I don't think he's in with Trump.
You think he's out with Trump to
I think once you interview Pence, you're out with Trump. Boom, that's it. You're done.
Yeah.
Jesse Waters, too.
Well, and another thing with Hannity.
I mean, Trump's a vindictive guy. That's how he is.
He starts his show with this pontification of a monologue every night. Mm-hmm. And he shouldn't. What he really should do.
Yeah, I agree.
Is like you said, Kathy, ride the Tucker wave.
Yes,
and start the show.
Kill it.
Like I'll tell you this: Steve Kane, who taught me how to do talk radio and everything. And Steve told me something long ago. He says, when with the 6 o'clock radio show, he said, sometimes I used to do the show a little differently. Okay, he told me start the show with your hottest topic. Whatever your hottest topic is, because he said, don't save it for later in the show. Don't save it for 7. Don't save it for when I come on.
Yeah,
start the show with your hottest topic.
Monologue is the problem because
that's right.
Because Tucker gives him this great lead-in, and what he should do is make it like a continuation of Tucker's show.
Doesn't have to be the same topic.
No, but
he needs to start with
the momentum.
The hottest story that there is that he's going to do it then. Don't do this first segment monologue.
And they even do a thing where they talk with each other and Tucker hands over to him, like hands him the baton.
Yeah.
And he's still losing half the audience or a big chunk. And you're right, his opening monologue is death. It's a disaster. It goes on and on.
Yeah.
It's forever. It's pontificating. It's narcissistic. And he makes and I think one of the biggest problems he has
it's repetitive to the whole list.
He can't
stop
of giving out his resume. I think it
that's
drives
bad too.
people. Oh,
That's
I wash
bad too.
dishes, and I know people are sick of me saying this. Yes, we are. Click next channel. I think 9 o'clock is a bad.
His mother worked in the prison.
Yeah, I mean, I think
yeah.
people are so tired of hearing him talk about himself. He should really work on never saying the word I or me ever in his broadcast. He should really work on that. Stop the monologue at the beginning and just ride that Tucker wave and get right into the head.
His ego won't let him do it.
His ego that's the problem. He has a massive ego.
That's
who would you say they were going to get rid of him? His contract was over. Boom. Who would you put in that spot?
Me.
Well, other than you,
on Fox,
9 o'clock at night. You know who I'd put in?
Who?
Piers Morgan.
Yeah,
Piers Morgan would be great.
Yeah.
As long as he stays away from the gun stuff.
Yeah,
he'd be good. He's got to stay away from the gun control.
Yeah.
He would be really good.
Yeah,
because he's on Trump's side. They're friends.
I agree.
And he's got a great personality. I've seen him on The Five and on Outnumbered, and he tells it like it is.
Yeah, he does. He does. Now,
he'd be a good replacement.
I want to take a moment to thank all of our Patreon supporters for their support of the program. Thank you all. And our top Patreon supporters get a live on-air thank you shout out on each and every episode. So the names you will hear now are our top Patreon supporters. I want to thank Andrew and Connie, Christine, Gary, ETW, Chuck, D, Pamela, Jacqueline, Rick, Rich, and Nick. These are our top Patreon supporters. Thank you so much for your support. If you would like to support the show by becoming a Patreon supporter, there is a link in the description of this and every episode to our Patreon page. Well, listen, everyone, thanks for tuning in.
Let me ask you, who would you get to, because I asked you and then I answered it, who would you get to replace Hannity? Sorry about that.
Other than me?
Other than you or Piers Morgan, is there anybody else?
Piers Morgan's a good one.
Anybody else you can think of?
That's currently like on Fox?
It doesn't have to be, but somebody that you think would be really good going on after Tucker, or something you'd have to think about.
Dan Bongino. If I got to pick somebody, I just kind of made that name up. I don't know.
It's kind of everywhere.
I don't have an answer for you, Kathy. On
you have to think about it.
Yeah.
I think mine's a good one.
I still wouldn't watch because I don't really watch Fox at all anymore. I really don't.
Well, you know what? Also, you're in bed by then.
At 9 o'clock?
Yeah, you're asleep.
Usually, yeah. That's my bedtime.
But still, tell us what you guys think. If Hannity was gone, who would you like to see replace? You have Jesse Waters, then you got Tucker. Who do you think would be good? My vote's Piers Morgan, but who do you think? Maybe Kayleigh McEnany. She's good.
I haven't seen her do a show alone.
Laura Ingraham would not like that.
Yeah. Hey, listen, everyone. Thanks for tuning in. We will talk to you next time. My name is Brian Craig, always joined by my wife and co-host Kathy. Thanks for listening.
Business owners, do you have a website? Of course you do, but is that website generating business for you? No? Then you need Peps. Peps is a freelance web and product designer. He's passionate about his work and will create a modern e-commerce site for you and your business. One that actually sells your products and makes you money. Peps can also create a subscription site so your customers can subscribe to your product or service. He can also design your company mobile app. Need graphic design work for your product, package, and logos? Peps can do all that too, and a whole lot more, even your branding. Take your business to the next level with Peps online at pepx.co. Let Peps create something awesome. PEPX.co.